Hey guys, and welcome to British Guy Reacts. It is beyond an honour to have you joining me today. Now I'm going to be doing something slightly different. I'm going to be reacting to a video which has been suggested to me. It's somewhat different from what I usually do, but I think still very interesting. It is a clip of the first ever American soldier winning the Medal of Honour on camera. This was in Afghanistan in 2002. I don't know the details, but I mean, clearly it's going to be an incredible story. It's been about a week since I've done a video, so I'm very sorry about that. But hey, protection rackets don't run themselves. So, no, that's not been, I've actually been having problems with my webcam. And for that reason, this video might be in several parts, kind of stuck together. I hope you enjoy, and let's roll the video.
Chapman, a U.S. Air Force combat controller, and the SEALs are...
Okay, so this is in March 2002, which is just a few months after the US invasion of Afghanistan after the 9/11 terror attacks. So the initial American invasion was a huge success. The Americans and their Afghan allies, who were a group of anti-Taliban militia called the Northern Alliance, swept across the country, pushing the Taliban and Al-Qaeda into Pakistan, from where they would rebuild quite successfully. That's a story for another day. But the initial American invasion was very successful, and at this point they'd been mopping up kind of the last resistance from the Taliban and Al-Qaeda fighters.
Are attempting to rescue their lost teammate. You'll watch Chapman's heroic actions as he saves the lives of his entire SEAL team.
Oh, wow.
And then another 18 members of a quick reaction force, earning America's highest award.
Quite right.
Chapman and the SEALs exfil their MH-47 helicopter. John is the second individual to exit and immediately moves in the direction.
Also, it's very kind of him to walk around with a big green ring, because it makes it much easier to see in the above shots. I'm just messing. Obviously, that's been superimposed. But I mean, even from what I know already from the story, it's an amazing tale. I mean, just like he saved, what, 18 people, did they say? That's incredible.
Direction of the summit. He can be seen moving off to the right of the screen, alone.
Okay.
The team is taking heavy fire from every direction, as indicated by the arrows, as Chapman begins engaging
like
targets.
4 different points of attack.
You can see spent cartridges ejecting from his M4.
You
Chapman
can.
begins closing with the enemy, forcing his way upslope in knee and thigh-deep snow.
So he's advancing towards the enemy? Brave guy?
He is constantly under fire as he does this. Chapman's team leader begins to close on Chapman, following his trail through the snow. The dark mass above Chapman is a fortified bunker containing 2 enemy fighters, each armed with AK-47s, who are firing down on the team in the darkness.
Okay. So they've got the high ground, they've got like the height advantage. Not to quote Star Wars, but they have got the high ground.
This bunker will come to be known as Bunker Number 1. To the left of the tree and Bunker 1 is another gray mass. This is a rock outcropping that came to be called the Boulder.
That an original name?
Bunker 1 and this boulder can be seen the body of slain SEAL Neil Robbins.
Oh no!
The man Chapman and the others are attempting.
Oh, so they're trying to rescue his body. So it's the whole you never leave a man behind, dead or alive. You always have to rescue them. The kind of that core military ethos.
To recover. Chapman, still alone and closest to the enemy, pauses to engage targets as his team leader follows him.
Yeah, like I can see sort of fire support.
Up with him. Chapman, on his own, now makes the decision to charge directly into the enemy bunker, despite withering point-blank fire.
Brave.
Chapman, now literally on top of the enemy, engages the 2 combatants and kills them, saving the lives of the remaining SEALs.
Nice.
He does this from a distance of no more than 10 feet.
10? That's insanely close. 10 feet is like, that's almost bayonet range. That's almost close quarter fighting. That's terrifyingly close. And he must have been at such huge risk. Just like, one lucky or unlucky shot could very easily have ended him, you'd have thought.
These actions by themselves earned him his first Medal of Honor.
Quite right.
He then climbs into and takes control of the bunker.
Okay.
Having cleared the immediate threat, Chapman is then joined by his team leader in Bunker 1. You can then see Chapman and his team leader engaging the next bunker, known as Bunker 2.
I think I'm understanding this naming system. I'm a huge fan. Even I can understand it.
Which is situated to the left edge of the screen. This bunker, manned by a handful of Chechen and Uzbek fighters, also contains a heavy...
So that's interesting. So the people they're fighting aren't Afghans or the Taliban. They're the Taliban's allies. So the Taliban was supported by lots of different extremist groups, but I mean, including the Islamic movement of Uzbekistan, which is still a presence in Afghanistan to this day. And there was a huge issue in Chechnya, the first and second Chechen wars against the Russians. So yeah, it's interesting that they're fighting foreign fighters who've come to support the Taliban rather than the Afghans themselves.
PKM machine gun, hand grenades, and rocket-propelled grenades.
That's heavily armed.
John Chapman is shot twice at this time in the torso.
Oh no!
Collapses, incapacitated.
Oh no! Poor guy. So they're going to rescue him as well?
We're now looking at a new angle, and at the left of the screen can be seen the two-man fire team and
you can see them shooting, I think, yeah.
Just below it is Bunker 1 with the mortally wounded Chapman.
Oh no, oh
One
mortally.
SEAL can be seen firing his modified M60 machine gun from the hip into Bunker 2 on the right side of the screen until he is struck by grenade shrapnel and tumbles 10 feet off the top of the boulder, collapsing at the feet of his team leader.
Oh god, yeah, no, you
off a chain of
saw him
events
fall down.
that would lead to the SEALs abandoning Chapman on the summit.
Oh, so the Americans have now got 2 down, including Chapman, who has already done what wins him his Medal of Honor, which is like insanely impressive. I'm guessing the Americans are now going to try and withdraw, and perhaps withdraw without Chapman. I'm not entirely sure.
The wounded SEAL and the team leader can be seen conferring about his injuries.
Right.
Moments later, the SEALs decide to retreat from the summit because their position is untenable in the face of continued massive enemy firepower.
Yeah.
They can be seen moving toward the right side of the screen and passing the body of Neil Roberts. Unfortunately, the SEALs do not pass John Chapman, who is above them and inside Bunker 1.
So presumably they didn't actually know they were leaving this guy behind. It was like an accident or an oversight because there's so much chaos going on. And so they're saying atrocious weather conditions, but they didn't actually realise that this guy, or perhaps not all of them realised that this guy was still there.
This angle shows 3 SEALs in a triangle. The larger black heat signature is a smoke grenade. Just to its left is a donkey and dead Al-Qaeda fighter killed by Chapman.
Not the same thing, I take it.
The steepness of the mountain can be seen as the SEALs begin to slide down the near sheer face.
Oh, so they're sliding. That'll kind of explain it, because they are moving pretty fast.
The team leader, desperate for relief and now with 2 wounded teammates, asks for uncontrolled airstrikes from an orbiting Air Force AC-130 gunship.
That is a lot of
firepower. 105mm howitzer rounds being fired onto the ridgetop in order to save the remaining SEALs.
Wow, that's a lot of firepower.
Nor gunship know Chapman is alive. He is experiencing these detonations.
Oh no! Yeah, of course. I forgot about
At approximately 5:20 in the morning, Chapman recovers and begins to engage the enemy. Bunker 1 is on the right.
So he's been abandoned on his own. He's already injured. He's been shot several times. He's been shelled by his own side by accident. And he's still got up and he's fighting back. That's incredible.
Side center of the screen and Bunker 2 to the left near the screen center. It will never be known what caused his incapacitation and recovery. Of the 2 rounds that originally wounded him, at least 1 was mortal, and at this time he is experiencing severe blood loss and shock.
Oh no.
Despite that, he begins his one-man stand against 24 enemy combatants. During this time, Chapman initiates a series of radio calls, many of which are heard by a fellow combat controller and teammate of his and Delta Force operators on a nearby summit. Despite this combat controller's replies, Chapman never acknowledges whether because of damage to his equipment or himself will never be known.
So he's there on his own. He's mortally wounded. He can't communicate properly with his base, but he's still fighting back against like 24 guys. So yeah, I mean, kudos.
This new angle and footage shows Chapman at the top, identified by the green dot under the tree at Bunker 1. The lower center of the screen shows the first enemy fighter who is about to charge Chapman in the hopes of killing the American.
Yeah.
The timestamp at the bottom shows it is now 6:05 in the morning and fully light. He's been fighting alone now for 40+ minutes and has received more gunshot and shrapnel wounds as a result of the fierce combat. This scene shows the second of several enemy charges. In this stunning display of determination and courage, Chapman can be seen fighting hand-to-hand with the fighter. In the
Oh,
larger
wow.
screen display can be seen additional enemy moving on to the summit. But right now, John Chapman is fighting for his life.
So I don't know what they were fighting with in that, because they were right by each other. So if they weren't using, were they not using guns? Were they using knives or something? Because they were standing by each other for like quite a few seconds. So you'd have thought one would have shot if that was an option. Maybe I'm missing something.
6 minutes later, in this new shot, Chapman can hear another helicopter approaching the summit. He is in the bottom center of the screen underneath the tree and can be seen in the magnified inset box as he begins his desperate final stand to save the lives of the 18 men on the helicopter.
Okay.
The red dots are enemy fighters. John begins engaging the enemy in multiple...
So, according to this video, so he knew that there was danger to the 18 men in the helicopter, and that was part of the reason why he fought back so fiercely, because he probably knew, or possibly knew, he was going to die, but he wanted to give his colleagues the best possible chance of escape and survival.
Directions and is rapidly approaching the last of his ammunition. The helicopter contains a quick reaction force comprised of rangers, pararescuemen, and another combat controller. It is now 6:13, and the helicopter is short final. The enemy is desperately trying to displace Chapman so they can put heavy weapons or rocket-propelled grenades in Bunker 1 while simultaneously engaging the helicopter.
Because I suppose if they managed to put heavy weapons in place, so if you've got a good firing position for RPGs, heavy machine guns, you could bring down a helicopter. I mean, the Taliban did bring down American helicopters and British helicopters. So if they managed to get a good firing position, that could have been then very dangerous for the 18 men on board.
With the choice to save his life or the lives of his unknown comrades, Chapman makes the decision to climb out of the bunker and begin firing in multiple directions, as can be seen in the inset.
And this is his very last ammo.
As many as a dozen wounds, Chapman is in fact already in the process of dying.
Oh, wow.
As he fights, the helicopter is struck by a rocket-propelled grenade and makes a remarkable controlled crash just below Chapman and the summit. Chapman, now off-screen, continues to cover his...
So now Chapman's at the top, and he's surrounded by enemies, and I mean this damaged helicopter is at the bottom. And if it wasn't for Chapman, if he wasn't like sort of distracting the Taliban and other extremists, they would all be able to concentrate their fire on the helicopter. So I can see why this guy got the Medal of Honor. I can see why the situation was so dangerous.
Comrades as they pour out of the stricken helicopter. Some of them are fatally shot as they exit.
Oh no.
These images, with Chapman fighting the enemy at close quarter, are the last to show him alive and in this heroic act, thus qualifying for his second Medal of Honor.
Oh, so he didn't get one Medal of Honor, he got two. I mean, fully deserved, to be honest. That's I mean, there were definitely two separate incidents which warranted it. But I just assumed they kind of rolled it all into one and gave him one. But yeah, no, so it's a tragedy.
Ultimately, Chapman would expend all but the last few rounds of his ammunition, until finally, after 16 bullet and shrapnel wounds, Chapman
16
succumbs when he is shot through the heart. We will never know his final thoughts or words, but what we do know is his decisions and actions single-handedly saved the lives of 23 comrades. For more information about John Chapman's amazing story and the details about...
That's just insanely impressive. I mean, John Chapman is an utter legend by the sound of things. On several different occasions, charging the initial bunker, fighting on whilst wounded, and then when his comrades came in trouble with the helicopter being hit by the RPG, drawing the fire so they couldn't kind of concentrate their fire on the helicopter. So yeah, it's an amazing story. It's more than I expected. I mean, I may do some more reactions to this kind of thing. There may be a bit of a gap now. I'm not quite sure, depending on what happens with my webcam. But as I say, I mean, thank you so much for being here. If you haven't already, please do subscribe, like, comment, all the usual good stuff. And I hope you enjoy your day.